Babylon, Panellian, in the sleep, and the mean, and the book, my Jesus. I said, I make you run, come out, and make you sleep, even nights more, you dash, nobody can find us. You must be sick, and that's everything, I jump in at this 45 feet, me caught in a miss, me finger moves, me gun them not stick, cover them stick. Miss me, I'm in a field, go them up in at this 45 feet, me caught in a miss, me finger moves, me gun them not stick. I don't want them get the tongue, come guns up, we kill them ass up. Pass up upon them in sport, does a class, does a man up, the way I be my listen. So you must mad, my kill them in the works up. Long as my job go too well, sharp. And now I be gun be anything start up. Pull it up, pull the charge and pull the car up. You must be sick. Everything I jump in at this 45 feet, me caught in a miss. Me think I'm all sick, me gun them not stick, cover them sick. Them up in a this 45 feet, me caught in a miss. Me think I'm all sick, me gun them not stick. Intellectual murder people edition. Cock and fire pull a gun like Remington. Pull the charge up, big up the killer man. You can't feel me, can't push you out of the man. Me kill your man. Somebody a bishop, tell you what to do. Like sponge up, to the spot. Mother belly down, when you melon from. When you walk on my shit, gonna belly from them started. Straight gun in the frying for gun for medicine on your mamas. How you know about one man shoot? Gonna believe from them started. I believe straight gun in the frying for gun for medicine on your mamas. You must be sick, and that's everything I jump in at this 45 feet, me caught in a miss. I think I'm all sick, me gun them not stick, cover them stick. No kill two of them up in at this 45 feet, me caught in a miss. I think I'm all sick, me gun them not stick. No, Spanish town, Babylon, Ghetto, Uptown, Gunsmith, no, Latvia.
Your body drive me crazy. Your body need a license fit. Your body are too tight and me. Anybody who got eyes can't see. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease me. She just wanna dance and tease me. She just wanna dance and tease. Listen, you've been missing since 2006. Squid tell me one thing. No, that's my sister. When she speak, I listen. She swears you're my medicine. I say we think different. I see. By your heart, I see. Come, baby, come, try me. Who you gonna love? You run by me, love. Too many twists and turns, yeah. Another way, twist and turn, yeah. Baby, come here, I too fly, I get burned. Another way, twist and turn, yeah. Your body drive me crazy. Your body need a license fee. Got your body at the tight and fee. Anybody who got eyes can't see. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease. Yeah, but yeah, she just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease. Yeah, dance and tease. You cool like the Highland breeze. Do what you want and need. Get over, hug up and sleep. You used to say you need to know love. You used to say you need to grow up. I know you know. Say you want to get that door. And I know, you know. You want wine back when you want some. Remember the first time when you get freaked, when you get none. Before that, be a chill kid, no well and party, a dog and party. Yeah, your body was so clean. You think weird version. Back it up high, you look like your body died. Oh, your body drive me crazy. Your body need a license fee. Got your body at the tight and feel. Anybody who got eyes can't see. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease. She just wanna dance and tease.
me have my stick. Oh no fair, oh no cash. Because too bad, never go nowhere. Yeah, I see why your I see. Baby, come try me. Everybody move by me. I twist and turn, twist and turn. I twist and turn, twist and turn. I have her, twist and turn. I twist and turn, twist and turn. Your body's having crazy. Your body need a license. Now your body at the tight and anybody who got eyes can't see. She just wanna dance and tease. 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 She just wanna dance and tease, man. Dance and tease, man. Learn yourself to me already. Get what you need, I guess, yeah. So I'm not with nobody, cause I don't wanna hurt nobody. Did it over text and call me. Still got love for your mommy. I know you wanna be somebody, even if you gotta leave somebody. It's something, it's something. Most of the things I don't wanna say. I won't be around like yo, what's good with it? Welcome to the Ubangians podcast, y'all. Y'all already know I'm getting my sources together right now. Just bear with me real quick. I'm gonna get it in today. Get in about the new. I'm gonna continue my my series on the Bantu migration. Don't try to come back when you're famous. I always want to prove but it's dangerous. You got something real amazing. You want to get what you stop. Yeah, today we're gonna get it back cracking back on continuing the journeys of the Bantu migrations. I'm getting into last time we got into I think let me see what we got to last time. Last time we got to like 3,500 to 2,000 BCE. Now we're gonna continue it from 2,000 to 1,000 BCE, dealing with the third phase of the Bantu migration. Talked about the first and the second phase. We're gonna get into the third phase. And after I do these this particular series, I'm gonna end it off with a review of a whole show on just the phases, the different phases of the Bantu migration. And I'm also gonna get into the Ubangian too, the Ubangian migration that happened during the same time period, which is another Niger Congo speaking migration into the Central Africa, other than the Bantu. They didn't go as far as the Bantu migrated to. The Bantu migrated all to Southeast Africa, East Africa. The Ubangians, said they had a very impactful history, in migrating to Central Africa as well. Especially when dealing with iron and things of that nature. Just a minute. See who on the chat real quick. Hey, Omar Reed, what's up with it, bro? Right on. Appreciate your support. King Sosa in the building. Everything is everything in the building. Was good with it, y'all. Get it in. And also we're still gonna be using one of my favorite tools. I like to use, break down African migrations or African human migrations. It's Christopher Ehret's book, the Civilizations of Africa, a history to 1800. The 1800 CE. Get into it. Peace and love, family. Was good with it. Get it in. See, Black Egypt. Nah, Black Egypt is not in the building. I don't know what you're talking about with that, brother. We need to go start with no Black Egypt. We need to get that out of here, bro. This ain't even a place for that. We talking about Bantu migrations. We ain't talking about no Egypt. This ain't got nothing to do with no Egypt. Put my sources up. I'm gonna do a whole show. I'm probably have to spin back on Egypt on the future show. Now I'm just focused on this Bantu right now. My immediate ancestry, West Africans and Central Africa. You know what I'm saying? Well, Bantu is really all West Africans. Anyway, there's like an extension of West Africa because they migrated. They created their culture as we have been seeing. They created their culture in West Africa. You know what I'm saying? Bantu language and all that started in West Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon region. They spread, you know what I'm saying? They spread their culture out. They spread that West Sudanic culture out into Central Africa and into, later on to around the lakes, lakes around Eastern Africa, along to the East African, southeastern coast. So screen real quick. Right page. Political. Page. Culture. Okay, here we go. Spread of agriculture into Central Africa. That's the main basis of this Bantu migrations and the Ubangian migrations, or shall I say the Adomawa Ubangian migration, because the Ubangians is a part of that whole language branch of Niger Congo language. And Bantu being part of the Beni Kwe or the Beni Congo branches of Niger Congo language family. Yeah, because last show we went into the early southward movements of Bantu peoples. Let me show my screen real quick so I can see where I'm at. Closer. All right, y'all see that? This last show, we went in on 3,500 to 2,000 BCE. We deal with the different phases. We deal with the Inyang Lomami groups, which is some of the first phases of the Bantu migrations. And then we went into the Sangha and Zadi, which is the second phase. That's the Inyang Lomami phase, which is based on the river. Like these phases of these Bantu phases or these groupings is based on the migrations of the rivers that they took and the cultures that they created, you know what I'm saying, around these rivers, these river systems that helped them actually migrate even at a lot faster rate into the interior into the interior of Africa. Now this third migration is kind of gonna break down how they even got to the east, how they start going into the eastern part of Africa. I'm gonna continue right here again where I left off at, just to give y'all kind of a refresher. Well, I started off with the Inyang Lomami farmers, where it say who, by the way, were the women of the society. I mean the farmers who, by the way, were the women of the society. Therefore, put together a set of techniques that preserve soil fertility and protected it for the future use. The men were called upon to clear away trees. Remember, I talked about how the men and the women had different jobs. The men cleared away trees and other large vegetations, but much of the litter of clearing was left lying around the surface to break the direct force of the rain on the ground. And I told you because it was hard in certain regions to even cultivate yams, things of that nature, because of the type of hard earth or ground in certain areas of the you know what I'm saying, around rainforest region. Like and subscribe, please. Please like, subscribe the channel, share it, you know what I'm saying, share the information. People drop the cash app if y'all want to support this channel, you know what I'm saying? I'm still up and growing, trying to do my thing. If you want to see more, you know what I'm saying, see this channel grow even larger, you know what I'm saying? Please support the channel. My Cash App in the chat. Let me continue. Okay, yeah, the women then made narrow slices into soil and setting into these notches and cutting from which their new crop of yams will grow. The tool they used to cut into the soil may have been polished stone axe, the same tool used to make the clearing in the first place. So they used the axe for the clearing, and they also used it for the cultivating. You know what I'm saying? The harvesting, or, you know what I'm saying, of the crops. Or they lay the ground down. You know what I'm saying? They use it with the same tool. And by the later third millennium, one grouping of the Inyang Lami, of the Inyang Lomami people, the Sangha Nzadi, initiated a second major period of expansion. Again, and on my review show, when I broke down the different phases one by one, I'm gonna get into more detail on these phases too. Now it's just kind of like a, you know what I'm saying, like a kind of a fast breakthrough. But I'm gonna go into detail on it on another show. When I go into the actual different stages and phases, I'm gonna show the maps and everything. And that's from my Cambridge book. I just had to put it together so I could show y'all and present it, you know what I'm saying, for the internet. Cause I only got it on the physical copy of it, so I had to like make it to convert it towards like digital, take pictures and things of that nature, the maps and things. And they say again, the ease of the river transport seems to have been a crucial element. The original Sangha Nzadi society emerged among those in Yang Lomami who had settled along the lower course of the Sangha River. See, they had off branch of the first phase. The Sangha Nzadi is an off branch of the Inyang Lomami, which is the first phase, and this is the second phase of Bantu migration. And they say from there, and they they in the lower course of the Sangha River. And they say from there, the later Sangha Nzadi community spread mostly downstream along the Congo River as far south as it injuncture with the Kwai River. Other groups broke off toward the west, traveling up several east-flowing streams into upper Ogowe River country. Now we're finna get into the subject and matter tonight. The new Bantu settlements, 2000 to 1000 BCE. Okay. In the early second millennium, a third stage in this long process of expanding Bantu settlement began to emerge. The impetus for this new spread came from one of more northerly of the Sangha Nzadi societies. And it was a different kind of expansion in one notable way. It began a sort of filling in expansion. This particular expansion is like how the Bantus kind of filled in, the Congo area or the Central African regions. You know what I'm saying? Most of them come out of these groups, like the rest of the Bantu groups. Everybody else, all the other Bantus, like the Eastern Bantus, You know what I'm saying? The Bantus around the lakes, all throughout in the inner croppings of Africa coming out of this particular group, these particular branches. I'm sure here say, and it was a different kind of expansion in one notable way. It began a sort of filling in expansion. That is to say, these communities especially moved into areas away from the main rivers and into areas skipped over by earlier Bantu settlements of the third millennium. So like the earlier uh Inyang Lomami people who migrated into different areas, the areas that they skipped over, you know what I'm saying, in Central Africa. And they say, therefore, I'm sorry, they say there are two intriguing features to this period of gradual expansions of the territories occupied by Bantu food producers. One is that the Sangha and Zadi communities spread across the rainforest at its narrowest point, and as the result of the lands of the most southerly Sangha and Zadi now began to overlap into the high rainfall woodland savannas just south of the forest. So just immediately, we're gonna show you a map too. But just immediately under the rainforest regions, you know what I'm saying, you have woodland savannas again, like you do in more northern Western Africa ports. You know what I'm saying? You have another, like you have the rainforest, you know what I'm saying, belt, and then immediately straddling that up under that, like, you know what I'm saying, a little bit south, more southern Africa. You have savanna, you have woodland savannas again, like you do in more northern parts of West Africa. That like the Sahel. You know what I'm saying? Going to the Sahel all over again. But it's more woodland savannas. And that stretch band of the woodland savannas is kind of what took these Bantus into the lake regions. And start mingling with people around that, around that region or whatever. And they say, okay, this environment. I say this. Okay, I'm gonna read it again. It say one is that the Sangha and Zadi community spread across the rainforest at its narrowest point, and as a result, the lands of the most southerly Sangha and Zadi now began to overlap into high rainfall woodland savannas just south of the forest. This environment was more naturally suited to the yam and oil palm of the early Bantu that was the rainforest, and much more encouraging for the for the raising of black-eyed peas and the African groundnut. See, these are all still like the Bantus of West Africans. No matter where it went, they kept the same crops. They carried these same crops from West Africa, from the Western Sahel, from the more like from Central Sahara on to the Sahel to like more tropical area. They brought these crops, these black-eyed peas. They dropped off the wheat grinder, you know what I'm saying? That's still in West Africa, you know what I'm saying? The rices and the wheat. They left that. They probably brought some of the rices, you know what I'm saying? Some of the fonio, stuff like that. But some of that stuff you couldn't even grow. That stuff probably was traded. Before it's like the stuff they were growing themselves, like the black-eyed peas, that's a northern Sahel, that's a Sahelian or a Central Saharan crop. You know what I'm saying? From when those areas was more, you know what I'm saying, humid or whatever. It was carried from those regions. And even, you know what I'm saying, the yams and the oil palms, it's still from more northern equatorial regions. These Bantu steady carrying these crops that they, you know what I'm saying, innovated in West Africa. And they bringing these crops and stuff with them, you know what I'm saying, along the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I say this is still a West Sudanic culture. They introduced a West Sudanic culture into Southern Africa and into Central Africa, into Eastern Africa. Okay. And they say, in addition, one particular subset of Sangha and Zadi communities very soon took advantage of the new environmental possibilities and the presence of still more river routes to launch a new, even more extended expansion of their own. Who were these people? Their name for themselves has been lost to history, but modern day scholars call them the Proto-Savannah Bantu because their later descendants spread all across the southern Savannah belt and eventually into the very savanna and montane environments of East Africa. That's how they got to East Africa. You know how these dudes be talking about some, oh, the Bantus was in Sudan and it was in Egypt and all this shit, excuse my language, all this stuff. No, they took the southern route, these southern savanna routes into the lake regions. You're gonna see it. I'm gonna show you the geographic. These dudes don't understand. A lot of these dudes don't understand geographic or their geology for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? They don't be looking. They don't have maps like I do. They don't have maps like we do. They don't be really looking at these maps for real. They be stuck in that northeastern part of Africa. Don't know the whole continent or the actual maps, even the ecological systems of the continent, of the world, period. Not even just Africa. Just understand the whole ecological system of the world, the different ecosystems that you got around the world, period. Let me go over up again what they were saying, these migrations. Let me say, go from the top so I can understand it. Some people don't understand, but act like they don't understand. In addition, one particular subset of the Sangha and Zadi communities very soon took advantage of the new environmental possibilities and of the presence of still more river routes to launch a new, even more extended expansion of their own. Even up here, they were saying, they brought these black eyed peas, palm oil, and yams along with them. Even right here, it said they went into the, so they was going to go into the high rainfall woodland savannas. And eventually, you know what I'm saying? Say, who are these people? You say their names for themselves have been lost in history, but modern day scholars call them the Proto-Savannah Bantu. They come from the Sangha and Zadi people. I say because their later descendants spread all across the southern Savannah belt and eventually into the very savanna and montane environments of Eastern Africa. The details of that story belong to the next chapter. We're gonna get into that too. What matters here is that the ancestral Savannah Bantu society took shape somewhere near the somewhere near the confluence of the Kwai and the Congo rivers in an area characterized, at least in recent times, by a major northward bulge of the Savannah Belt. In those times, around 2000 BCE, rainforests would still have covered this area. By probably no later than the middle of the second millennium, a number of Savannah Bantu communities began to move out eastward into new lands following we suspect the Kwai and the lower Kakazi. The Kasi, the lower Kasi, and then the Kankora and then the Sankuru River upstream from the confluence of the Congo and the Kwai River. By 1000 BCE, the eastern outlayers of this expansion had reached the west side of the Great Western Rift, and that's in the east. The west side of the Great Western Rift. You know what I'm saying? The Western Rift, that's going into the lakes in the east part. Don't get it twisted. All I was saying west is the western part of the Rift Valley. In the western part of the Rift Valley is those lake regions. It's the western part of the Great Rift. You know, the Great Rift in Africa. If y'all don't understand the geography of the Great Rift, which is a volcano chain of even the continent is slowly shifting in this region. That's why the Great Lakes and all that stuff is. It's like a huge crack. Y'all don't understand Africa. It's a huge crack. It's a huge crack in the middle of Africa, and Africa is splitting apart. If y'all don't really know, you know what I'm saying, the geography of it, because you got the volcanoes there in the rift. You got the lake region. Some of the lakes are even volcanoes where you have it splitting. You know what I'm saying? Then you got the Danakil Depression, even up like, you know what I'm saying, where you had, where the Arabian Peninsula, they got the Danakil Depression, was the hottest place on the damn planet. You know what I'm saying? That's in the rift. And the rift has so many different ecosystems because of that. It has so many, you know what I'm saying, opportunities for evolution. Different, you know what I'm saying, evolution speeds up and speed slows down in this region. You know what I'm saying? Human development happened a lot in this region, in this Rift Valley. We talk about the Western Rift here, where the Bantu migrated to, you know what I'm saying, getting there around 1000 BCE. Let me say by 1000 BCE, the eastern outlayers of the expansion had reached the west side of the Great Western Rift, almost 1,400 kilometers further east. See, it's in the east. The most easternly of these communities were the proto. See, this is another branch. This the the fourth phase. It's the fourth phase of the Bantu migration. We're gonna get into more of them, you know what I'm saying, next week. But if the preview of it say the most easterly of these communities, of these Savannah Bantus, the most easterly of them were the Proto Mashariki. And this is a Swahili. This is a Swahili term. I think it's a Swahili term that means east. They use the Swahili identifier or term here to identify these particular Bantus, and it actually means east. The Masha in Swahili language.
which is a Bantu language. Mashariki, whose country lie near the Western Rift, and whose key role in later Eastern African history will engage our attention in the next chapter. And the Mashariki, or the groupings of these lake Bantus who migrated. These Bantus are the ancestors of kind of everybody else, all the other Bantus. They're the ancestors of the Eastern Bantus. They're the ancestor of some of the Bantus that was in Uganda. You know what I'm saying? You had the Boam that was already up, in the northern of that region, but you had these other Bantus, you know what I'm saying, they branched out the Mishariki that became the Bantus of Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi. These are the Bantus of Somalia. These are the Bantus out of the Mashariki people. You got the Bantus that became the Swahili people in the eastern coast. These the Bantus that became the Bantus in Tanzania, Kenya. You know what I'm saying? These the same Bantus that became the Zulu and the Xhosa of South Africa and the what's the other group? The Sothoro. You know what I'm saying? These are those Bantus. These Mashariki Bantus is the main branch of these other branches of Bantu. But the Bantus are like Angola and all that. Those Bantus I talked about them earlier. Those Bantus came directly from the Inyang Lomami people. They just took the western route immediately south. You know what I'm saying, on the Atlantic coast. Some of the other Bantus, like them Savannah Bantus, migrate back and forth in the mix with other Bantus too. We're gonna talk about that too. On another show. And what here it say, the successive expansions of the Inyang Lomami peoples and their Sangha and Zadi descendants. Remember, they branched off from there. And then the Proto Savannah Bantu form one ongoing process. Each stage tended to emerge as further wave of advance, its beginning overlapping with the later parts of the previous stage of expansion. And they say, and carrying a similar combination of agriculture, fishing, and tool technology into two territories. Previously occupied only by Batwa gatherer hunters. You know what I'm saying? It's all Batwa areas, they wrongfully called the Pygmy people. And each stage in this history spread wider and the multiple use of environment engendered by the trade of coexistence of Bantu farmers with the autochthonous Batwa. And I say, read it again. It say, in each stage in this history spread wider the multiple use of environment engendered by trade and coexistence of the Bantu farmers with the autochthonous Batwa. Autochthonous mean indigenous. You know what I'm saying? These Batwa people who was there first, who come from the Shumlaka people. We're gonna get into that on another show. We're gonna break down how to, I kind of broke that down too already. We talked about the Western hunter gatherers, West African hunter gatherers who were there before the Niger Congo people or the proto Niger Congo people migrated from the east. Migrated from where, said, the the western parts of the Nile. You know, in between Chad and the Nile, what they call the Yellow Nile, the dried up Nile. They say, but significant differences of opportunity or motivation must have existed too, because at each stage, just one of the emergent new societies took the lead in the next era of immigration outward. The rest continue mostly to remain within more restricted territories. Why this should be so unclear? The two periods of expansion among the Sangha and Zadi communities, in the third and early second millennium BCE, both originated somewhere in the areas around Sangha and the Congo confluence, near the rivers. Was this a region of especially vibrant, cross-flowing cultural and economic stimuli in the later third and early second millennium? The last stage, the expansion eastward of the proto-savanna Bantu in the later second millennium, began in another area of numerous intersecting rivers, and of the environmental diversity as well. Could there again have been special economic conditions at work in this history? On the other hand, perhaps the expansion of savanna Bantu communities was encouraged by the simple fact that no competing farming populations occupied the lands, well suited to yam-based planting agriculture and to fishing that lay between them to the east. So it wouldn't really know a lot of competition. We see the Bantu only had competition among themselves. Really had no competition with the Batwa people. You know what I'm saying? They hunter gatherers, and a lot of them, I ain't gonna lie, I seen a documentary. I didn't even know this before the documentary. Sometimes there was a peaceful coexistence, and sometimes in Bantus they look at themselves better than the Batwa people, even enslaving them, treat them like dirt. You know what I'm saying? Like animals. We all animals, but like treat them like they, you know what I'm saying, a different breed of, you know what I'm saying, humans and stuff. Treat them like they beneath them, you know what I'm saying? And let's say, now forget to the culture and society of early Bantu histories, period, it's overall. Culture and societies in early Bantu history. We know in very broad terms how the cultural lives of the early Bantu people of Western Equatorial Africa were carried out. But little has yet about the myriad or lesser changes in culture that must surely have taken place over the period from 3000 to 1000 BCE. The Inyang Lomami peoples and their Sangha and Zadi descendants continued to live typically in villages of a few hundred inhabitants at most. They carried on as well the older Beni Congo practices, of laying out the villages along one main line of building rectangular houses of the gamble roof of with gamble roofs. They traced their descent matrilineal through their mothers instead through their fathers, as had their still earlier as had the still earlier Niger Congo forebearers in West Africa. See, these are West African people. They just implanted West Africa. You know what I'm saying? What Bantu people are really West African colonists. I'm gonna say that again. Bantu people are West African colonists. Let me say this again. They carried on as well the older Beni Congo practices by laying out the village along one main line and building rectangular houses with gable roofs. They traced their descent matrilineal, same way like the same Niger Congo tradition, through their mothers instead through the fathers, as had their still earlier Niger Congo forebearers in West Africa. Each village would have been principally the abode of one particular matrilineage, although other people related by marriage or allied through close friendship would also have been among the village's inhabitants. Man, we talked about that earlier with the Niger Congo societies, period. You know what I'm saying? The matrilineal system. You know, when you marry a family, you marry, you know what I'm saying, you move in with your, you know what I'm saying, or you link more so with your wife family. And that's crazy because that kind of happens in a lot with African American cultures too. You know what I'm saying? Like even though I'm married, you know what I'm saying, your kids more, you know what I'm saying, more straddle more so with your mother's side of it. Even me, you know what I'm saying? I rock with my daddy's side of the family tough, hard, you know what I'm saying? But I'm more home, I feel more calm and comfortable on my mother's side. You know what I'm saying? You know how our grandmothers, you know, in black communities, our grandmothers held the family together. You know what I'm saying? It was the grandmother, we had a matriarch. You know what I'm saying? Some of them have a matriarch and a patriarch too. You know, sometimes the grandfather held down, but it's more common for African American to have a matriarch system. You know what I'm saying? Some type of matriarch. You might have a both or the dual patriarch, matriarch, grandfather and grandmother. But even after the grandfather passed, the grandmother holds the whole thing together. Sometimes the grandfather, a lot of times the grandfather go away before the grandmother do. In a lot of cases, not all the time, but a lot of cases. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to say all of it ain't absolute, but you know, it's more common. Okay, and it say each village would have been principally the abode of one particular matrilineage, although other people related by marriage or allied through close friendship will also have been among the village inhabitants. The recognized ritual head of each lineage continued to be the Mokumo. I mean, we talked about that earlier on another show. The Mokumo is the head, like the chief. The Bantu version of the more ancient Benikwe office of Okumo. His or her responsibility would have centered especially on the ritual observance and maintain beneficial relations between the local communities and its ancestor spirit. So it's like a priest, or like a priest chief or whatever. Sometimes it could be play both roles. They could just be the priest. It could be a priest chief, or just, you know, you can have two separate things. You can have a priest, or you can have like a chief. You know what I'm saying? Which a lot of times you have that. A lot of times you have just a priest. You have a chief. The chief come from a more of the militant or the protection. You know what I'm saying? The militant. You know what I'm saying? The regime. You know what I'm saying? And the priest or the connection with the ancestors like that. Or sometimes you might have a situation where the kings or whatever, or priests too, or warrior priest, some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And they say, although people recognize larger societal groupings, Lungo, which 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 their own village belong, they followed no higher political or ritual authority than their own Mokumo. Such ethnicities would therefore have consisted of loose regional groupings of villages, tied together by common language and custom and by marriage alliances and trade. As communities move out into new areas and dialect differences increase, old Lungo alliances would have lost salience, and these are political movements. And new Lungo would time and again have taken shape out of the old. We know something of the life cycles of individuals in these communities. Boys were circumcised, initiated into relatively informal age sets during their adolescence. Historians know this because they are able to reconstruct the original Bantu word for such an age set, kola, and a, you know what I'm saying, but you might, this word kola, I'm saying kola, but it might vary in different, you know, Bantu dialects. It might change a little bit, but the same base or the substratum word is the same concept. It might be Kalani or Koluni in the different languages, you know what I'm saying, different Bantu, but where we was using kola for their base, you know what I'm saying, age set term. You know what I'm saying? Other, you know what I'm saying, in other Bantu languages, that word might, you know, be slightly variated or different. And a very early verb for circumcision, tip, it's another case, you know what I'm saying, it can vary. The noun kola, interestingly, derives from the verb kol, to grow and mature. And that allows us to infer the age sets were formed very few years of those boys in a community who had reached puberty into the inner stream in the interim since the initiation of previous age set. The village or the Mokumo, which is the priest, would have called upon the members of an age set from time to time to undertake group tasks for the community. Such as clearing paths in such as clearing paths. Let's say in the proto-Savannah Bantu society, of the later second millennium, a series of observance and lasting as long as several weeks surrounded the circumcision and initiation of boys. These observances included the salacious of the boys in a circumcision camp, mass dancing, the ritual marking marking of the boys with white clay and probably other rituals. How much further back in Bantu history and various elements in these rituals might have been practiced as not as yet been studied, however. Girls were not circumcised in early Savannah Bantu societies, but they did go through two major rites of passage before being considered by their societies to be a full adult. Interestingly, marriage was probably not one of those major passages. Instead, it appears that first girls were individually initiated uh, at puberty into the status of imwale, or young woman. This term derives from another verb meaning to grow, or al. So it had, when grow, al, which is the moali come from, the al. So it had the same uh, implication of reaching puberty as as the verb, kol had for boys. Whether initiation was undertaken by the village as a whole or was handled by the girl's extended family is not yet known. A young woman continued to be a imwale until her first child was born. The rights associated with the birth of that child constituted her second passage into the status of full adult woman. Marriage took place, but it may have been a weak bond, and it certainly was not at all the defining event in a woman's life that it commonly is. For instance, in Western society, rather childbearing, which enhanced the size and therefore the strength of the matrilineage and the village, was the key event. In keeping with certainly of maternal concerns in a woman's life, marriage generally would have been matrilocal. In other words, a woman usually continued after marriage to live in her family's village, and the man moved in with her. Like I was saying earlier. Well, here's a pende mass, another one of them horn mass. You know what I'm saying? The traditions come all the way from West Africa. Wood, you know, we're talking about that wood carving. Take on. I'm gonna let my dog out real quick. You gotta use the bathroom. Okay. About the Pende mass. Pende mass right here. It said Niger Congo people for thousands of years have made masks for ritual and celebrity dancing. We talked about that earlier. The masks, some other masks I showed y'all earlier. Say the example when I'm talking about Niger Congo people, there's all this migration. I'm talking about the Niger Congo people as a whole. And they say the example shown here displays the old Niger Congo motif. Like I showed, it's the same motif of the horn antelope. See, I remember I showed y'all the mask, the earlier mask, or the other mask, you know, with the horn antelope. The same motif. You know what I'm saying? The Mende do it, the Yoruba do it, the Igbo do it, different variants that the Congo people make these type of masks. Hold on. All right. And you say, let's say the Pende, the Pende, a Niger Congo, the Pende, a Niger Congo people of the Savannah branch of the Bantu living in the southern Congo basin used this particular mass in male rights initiation. That's why they're showing this map when we talking about initiation and things like that. They use this particular mass, you know what I'm saying, for that, you know what I'm saying? And these in the Pende, or particularly a Savannah Bantu people we talk about, carry this West African tradition all the way to, you know what I'm saying, the southern savannas, it's, you know, beneath the Congo, immediately south of the Congo. And they say by late, they say by late in the third 3000 and 1000 BCE, several new complexities in social organization had taken shape, especially among the southerly rainforest Bantu societies. In some areas, two levels of kin relation had emerged. In addition to the older initiation, the matrilineage, the wider kin grouping, and the macro clan, to which a large number of localized matrilineages would belong, appears to have gained a more formal recognition. Larger villages become more common too in several parts of the equatorial rainforest. Such a larger village would include several matrilineages, each inhabiting in its own small ward of the village, and each with its own mokumo. Each of them have its own priest or own chief. When one group of the people in the village moved away to form a new community, their matrilineage would form a basis of the new village. In this way, the matri clan would often have come to consist of a number of matrilineages dispersed over a considerable area. At the far south, the ancestral Savannah Bantu people of the second millennium BCE had a still more complicated system. They practiced a limited kind of double descent with elements of both matrilineal and patrilineal. Matrilineal relationship continued to be the key to the person's social position and inheritance, and the matrilineage and the matral clan alliances remain the basis of where a person resided. But Savannah Bantu communities also recognize descent from the fathers by forming patrilineages. Lungo just what social purpose the patrilineals may have served and why there might have risen in the first place are not yet known, however. One new wrinkle in the political and ritual roles also emerged very late in the period and long just one grouping of the Savannah Bantu. Probably not long before 1000 BCE, a new position of the Wa'ami in Wami with the name kind of responsibilities as the Okumo began to recognize among the furthest east of the Savannah Bantu societies. who at that period of history had moved into the areas between Lalaba River in the western rift, and the differences in scope of the roles in several regions in later times suggest that the Mwami originated as a new position of ritual priest chief over the wider Matru clan, while the Mokumo retained its original function as a ritual head of a matrilineage within the clan. See, they politics and the hierarchy became more complex. You know what I'm saying, with them Savannah Bantus. And say the Ubangian peoples of the eastern woodland savannas. It's another Niger Congo people who went into the Central Africa. You know what I'm saying? Other than the Bantu group. You know what I'm saying? These people part of the Adamawa Ubangian people or the Savannah languages. These are the people, these people are the oldest people, or part of the oldest people who the oldest people who first start smelting iron in the Central African Republic region, in the Adamawa region. You know what I'm saying? They also related to the Gur people, you know what I'm saying, for the West Africa. You know what I'm saying? They're related to the Gur people who probably introduced iron smelting to the Mende people. And then they say Ubangian peoples of the eastern woodland savannas. To the north of the Bantu, 3000 to 1000 BCE, across the woodland savanna zone immediately north of the equatorial rainforest, a parallel and roughly a contemporary expansion of a different set of forming peoples, the Ubangians, carried the agricultural frontier eastward. The Ubangians, like the early Bantu, probably raised yams, tended oil palms, and kept goats and guinea fowl. And also, like the Bantu, they brought with them many of the customs and practices of their early Niger Congo heritage, such as bark cloth making and canoe building. Very poorly studied as yet, the history of the early Ubangians is as far less well known than that of the Bantu-speaking contemporaries. Proto-Ubangian society emerged in about 4th millennium BCE and was formed by a southeastern offshoot of the Adamawan peoples, who not many centuries before brought the West African planting agricultural tradition into north central Cameroon and the adjacent. And they say, okay, they brought the West African planting agricultural tradition into north central Cameroon and adjacent far western edge of today's Central African Republic. The first major spread of the Ubangian farming community, that's where the area where iron was found too, first found. And they say the first major spread of the Ubangian farming communities dating to the 3rd millennium advanced like the contemporaneous spread of the Inyang Lomami people, which is the Bantu, early first stage of the Bantu, principally eastward along river routes. Into this case, up the Ubangi River and its major eastern tributaries, the Ulili and the Bomu rivers. A second expansion of the Ubangian peoples in the 2nd millennium BCE shows similarities also to developments of the same era among the Sang Inzadi Bantu peoples to the south. In particular, in particular Ubangian communities involved in the second and third of the millennium of the population movement seem to have engaged in filling in movements. They was filling in areas too from the north. They tended to settle in areas, in other words, that their Ubangian forebears of the third millennium would not have for favor. You got this map right here. It said expansion of African agriculture frontier, 3,500 to 1,000 BCE. Show this map. This map is a nice little map. Close. Get closer. There you go. Yes, a little bit. Let me see. Picture that map. Here we go. I can't get bigger. So I show that map because that's a good ass map. Show the Ubangian migrations and all the stuff I was talking about. I don't seem to expand. But I know what I'm gonna do. So I get back to it. There we go. Y'all see that map good? Y'all see that map good in the chat? Ubangian and for this rare Ubangian inhibitors are not just Nilos. It's Nilos and Ubangian people there, like the Azandi and people like that, bro. You see right here. on the map. If you look at the map, it show you Nilotes too. Merging, you gotta stop being narrow-minded. They ain't just one people. Okay. You see right here, you got the Bantu, say Bantu, these the young Lumami people. Bantu right here, you got the Batwa, more different, interior areas. You see the Bantu, we follow these rivers. Bantus, you know what I'm saying? Batwa, these are Batwa. These the Savannah Bantus. The Savannah Bantus took this southern woodland savannas that had heavy rain. You know what I'm saying? They took this route. And then up here, you see the northern Bantus, you know what I'm saying? The Boans, you know what I'm saying? But it's only 3,500 to 1,000 BC. It's still some migration that gotta go, you know what I'm saying, to the east. You know what I'm saying? Because these the most northern Bantu now, but these Savannah Bantu that become the Mashariki, but around these lakes, the Bantu that became the Lake Bantus, these the same Bantu that became the Bantus of Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi. These are also the Bantus that traveled into Somalia. You know what I'm saying? These are the same Bantus that went into the eastern coast, that became the Swahili, ones that went into Kenya, Tanzania, even the ones that met up with the Khoisan here and became like the Zulu and the Xhosa and all them people that brought the cows in. They got the cows in from the Nilotes and the Central Sudanic people. See these Central Sudanians, they met up with Bantus. They Nilo Saharians themselves. You know what I'm saying, around here. And them people you probably talking about, they probably Central Sudanians. They're probably not actually Nilotic. Nilotic is a branch of Nilo Saharian. You got different branches of Nilo Saharian, and the Nilotic is one of them. A lot of times people use Nilotic as a general term for all Nilo Saharian people, but Nilotic is actually a sub branch of Nilo Saharian. You know what I'm saying? Central Sudanic is another branch of Nilo Saharian group, and they was right here. See, you see the Sag, those are Nilotic. You know what I'm saying? You see the in what's it's called the Nyanza lake. They wrongfully called this Lake Victoria, but it's really the Nyanza Lake. You have the Rube people here, which is another Nilo. The Sag, these are all Nilos. You see the Southern Kushites. Around here, even they met up at the lake, around these lakes. Riff, you know what I'm saying? See this lake right here? This is what they call the Western Rift. Around this lake with the Mashariki people, you know what I'm saying? That to the Khoisan were here during this time period. The Twa right here. He probably was like the Hadza people right here too. See the lowland Eastern Kushites. And these lowland Eastern Kushites, these are Somali. These are Somali right here. You see that Isonic, the lowland Eastern Kushites, these are Somalians right here. These are the ancestors of the Somalians right here. It's in these regions. You see the Southern Kushites right here. You know what I'm saying? These the ancestors of the Somalians, the Romo. These the lowland Eastern Kushites. We got the Nilos right here during this time period, during 3,500 to 1,000 BCE. You know what I'm saying? You got these Central Sudanians coming into the edges of the rainforest. And you got these city Ubangians, the Ubangian migrations up here. Ubangian. To the Ubangi River, Ubangians. Now you probably do have, Central Sudanian people did migrate over here in these regions eventually. You did have Nilo Saharian people that did migrate in these regions, but the Ubangians were here first during this time. They were here before them people came. So they even mixed with Central Sudanians and these people. You got a Zandi later on. The Zandi people, they all in, the Zandi people was all in motherfucking Sudan. You know what I'm saying? It's in my screen blank. Y'all can't see my screen? Damn, hold on. I'm gonna redo it. Can y'all see my screen now? I think I had my screen on pause. Can y'all see it now? I had it on pause at first. I was showing this. I was showing you right here. Had the lowland Eastern Kushites right here. Ancestors of the Somalians. You know what I'm saying? The Afar, the Oromo, people like that. You know, it's hard making it bigger. There you go. Hold on. Kind of hard making this thing bigger. Let me look on her illustrations. Go to maps. There you go, maps. Can y'all see it? Is that big enough right there? You see it right there? That big enough? That's as big as I can get it. But right here it say lowland Eastern Kushites right here. Right here it say that the Holians, the Holians like old Afro-Asiatic speakers. They was still even practicing hunter gathering and shit. They're like kind of like a Modic people. You got the Ma, there's another Nilos. The Southern Kushites, the Rift. It's the Rift right here. South Kushites. South Kushites right here around these rivers. The Rube. Got the Batois right here. Sag. And these are all Nilotes right here. A lot of. You got the Central Saharians. Central Sudanians right here. These Nilotic people too. I mean, not Nilotic, but they're Nilo-Saharians. They're part of the Nilo-Saharian branch. You got Bantus, the Boans, these are Bantus. The Ubangians all up here. You got to see the Batois right here, these pockets. Batois, this Ubangi River right here. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, you did have Nilos going all through these regions eventually, but you know what I'm saying? Ubangians are here first. You got the Bantus right here, West Africa, where they originally sprouted from. You know what I'm saying? Right here between Nigeria and Cameroon. These would have been the Inyang Lomami people. Bantus, traveling this Atlantic coast line right here. You see the Batois, more Batois. And then right here, you got these Bantus. These Bantus are the Savannah Bantus right here. Straddling that southern woodland savanna, you know what I'm saying, right up under the rainforest. It would have been savannas, woodland savannas right here. You know what I'm saying? They traveled and went into the lake region right here, these lakes. They would have became the Mashariki people. And these Mashariki people are the ancestors to a lot of the Eastern Bantus. These are the ancestors of the Somali Bantus. These are the ancestors of the Bantus in Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi. These are the ancestors of the Bantus who eventually would have went into South Africa. You know what I'm saying? The ones who went to Kenya, the Kikuyu, came out of this group. You know what I'm saying? The ones in Tanzania came out of this group, out of these people right here. Came out of these people. These Savannah Bantus who became the Mushariki Bantu. Yeah, Batwa, see the Batwa right here. Khoisan right here. You know what I'm saying? Riff, South Cushitic right here, South Cushitic right here. You know what I'm saying? Lowland, Eastern Kushites. Been right here in the Horn region, right here at this time period. You know what I'm saying? This would have been the ancestors of a lot of other, you know what I'm saying? A lot of different Cushitic group or Eastern Cushitic groupings. Yeah, man. You might want to add in on my presentation. I'm gonna continue this next week. See some. Yeah, I gotta stay right here. There we go. How late it is. But, anybody want to join the panel, they're welcome to. Before I jump off this thing. Yeah, man. Got it in. Anybody want to add in or, you know what I'm saying, any questions, anything like that? Other than that, I'm gonna jump off. Put Cash App in one more time. I'm working on trying to get my my PayPal on here too. Cash App in the chat. Subscribe. You know what I'm saying? Want to hear more information like this? Keep this rolling. Keep this show rolling. Yeah, but shoot, I'm gonna close this out, and I'm gonna continue next week on this Bantu thing. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna get it cracking. We're gonna get it going. We're gonna, next week we're gonna get into because after the thing is the Mashariki Bantus, when they get around them lakes and they start mingling with them Central Sudanian people who already been mingling with Ubangian people, but with that iron technology, this is when Bantus get introduced into the Iron Age. So my next group, my next channel gonna be getting to the Iron Age Bantus, and they spread, spread Iron Age technology to other Bantus and to other groups who didn't have iron. You know what I'm saying? But it was given to them, you know what I'm saying, by Central Sudanians. And Central Sudanians got introduced to it by the Ubangian or Adamawa Ubangian people. Peace out, y'all.